Alrighty, very happy Friday, and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is June 5th of 2026. Hope everyone had themselves a good week. We are at the end of the week and getting you guys ready for a weekend where, uh, summer's kind of kicking in here later this month. And I'm excited. We got a lot to get to, a lot to prepare. The Reds will talk plenty of Reds baseball here today as they get ready for a three-game set against the St. Louis Cardinals. I testified yesterday, and I'm going to stand behind my statement that this coming up series between the Reds and the Cardinals, this coming up road trip between the Reds and the Padres beginning next week are going to be one, if not a really big challenge, probably the biggest challenge that the Reds have faced all season long. And how the Reds come out of it is going to tell me a lot of information on where the Reds are at. The Reds began the season kind of easing into things. We're in the middle of June now, and now we have our toughest opponents we haven't hit yet. And it is, I think it is warranted to sit on a little bit of edge here, to be worried, to be concerned with how this organization is right now, for how this future is going to be with where they are at. So we'll talk plenty about that today. Division One baseball tournament continues as there's the super regionals. We'll just break that down for you. Who's playing and who beginning today. But I want to start the conversations off with WWE as SmackDown is live, or not live tonight. We'll be on television tonight, 8 p.m. from the Unolp Arena. I guess trying to figure out if there's another pronunciation to that. It's in Bologna, Italy, and it's going to be live at 2 p.m. for international um, viewership on Netflix. It's going to be taped and premiered at 8 p.m. on the USA Network. So the WWE is in full swing. Fallout of Clash in Italy that took place last Sunday. They have continued their international tour in Italy, heading ahead of SmackDown tonight. And we are on the road to the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. Now, earlier this week, I got to see if I have that listing somewhere. I wanted to find. So the WWE has a couple confirmed PLE schedules. And believe it or not, June 27th, let me see where that's on the calendar. That is literally 4 weeks away. WWE is going to be in Riyadh for Night of Champions. On July 18th, which is a Saturday at Madison Square Garden, they are going to have Saturday Night Main Event and then SummerSlam, a 2-night event in Detroit, Michigan on August 1st and August 2nd. So we are trying to transition, at least here on this show. We have the initial road to WrestleMania. That's the biggest conversation of them all. But following WrestleMania, I like to have the what I call road to SummerSlam. And so far, we've had WWE Backlash. We've had Clash in Italy. We're going to have Night in Champions later this month. And then a kind of temporary stop at Saturday Night Main Event in July before SummerSlam. So when you look at stories between WrestleMania and now, you kind of ask yourself, well, what is currently leading towards a SummerSlam match, which is 2 nights in August? And we know one thing. We know there's 2 matches confirmed. The winners of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments, which will be concluded on June 27th, will get a championship match at SummerSlam. So that it falls upon without having to wait 3 months for a build up like the Royal Rumble. This is done at the very end, and the winners get an opportunity. So we know those 2 matches are confirmed. I think it's fair to say, speculating, that with the series right now tied at 1 apiece between Obafemi and Brock Lesnar, we will most definitely see that take place this summer, especially considering that it's in Detroit, Michigan. And I've already given you, and I'm going to reiterate the statement time and time again, but I believe there's only one way to present that match. And to present that match is Obafemi leads his way to Riyadh, and then Brock shows up, costs him the King of the Ring tournament, and that's all that's said. Now, whether or not the WWE decides, hey, I want to put Brock Lesnar's career officially on the line and make it presently known, whether or not Brock officially states whether he's retired or not, look, uh, until he's ready to take off his boots for the final time, say, I'm done, don't need to be in the ring no more. And I feel like the WWE is in a comfortable spot for that to happen. But when you have these international shows, Brock Lesnar still draws money. So when the time's right, there are countries, there are Riyadh, the Riyadh season, they will pay anything to have whoever they wanted. If Brock Lesnar's name gets called, uh, then he's obligated to appear. And the fact that Riyadh's going to have host WrestleMania next year, it's kind of hard to believe it. Yes, I think in the WWE we are comfortable, ready to move on from him, but are other parts of the world ready to move on? Is Brock Lesnar's financial pockets ready to move on? Because let's be honest, if you get a phone call and say, "Hey, here is the X dollar amount just to show up for 5 minutes and make hit a F5 or two," who could say no to that? So, there's 2 confirmed matches. Details will be provided later. I can only assume that there will be a 3rd match. So, already on a 2-night main event, the road to SummerSlam has 3 compelling matches lined up. One of the conundrums is that Obafemi is currently in the King of the Ring tournament. He currently has an opportunity to win the King of the Ring this year, later this month. And he currently has an opportunity to challenge for a championship at SummerSlam. So unless something in between stops him from doing that, then there's just a couple of different narratives. To me, Obafemi, out of everyone in this tournament, I was looking at this tournament earlier, still is my favorite wrestler to win. I don't know about you, but he outbeats anyone. And if he threw in everybody in a battle royale, he would be the one to win, in my opinion. But SmackDown is tonight. It's on at 8 p.m. USA Network for the U.S. It's live show at 2 p.m. on Netflix for international viewers. And it's the fallout of Clash of Italy. The King of the Ring tournament continues. And the Queen of the Ring tournament continues. So let's talk about that. So far tonight, According to Fightful.com, this is the latest report I was able to get prior to this show. Cody Rhodes will appear. You have Rhea Ripley who will appear. We will see a rematch between Ricky Saints and Carmelo Hayes. In the King of the Ring tournament, which is a fatal four-way match in the first round, we'll see Damian Priest taking on Trick Williams, Dominic Mysterio, and Braun Breaker. In the Queen of the Ring tournament, we will see Bayley take on JC Jane, Kiana James, and Raquel Rodriguez. That is the current matchup card, subject to change. But if you look at it for a 3-hour show, that doesn't seem like a bad match card. Now, one of my biggest headlines heading into stories is following from Clash of Italy is how will Nick Aldis handle the conclusion of the undisputed WWE Championship match that took place last Sunday? We saw Gunther take on Cody Rhodes, and Gunther slid his foot underneath, surpassing the bottom rope. Referee did not see it and pinned Gunther 1, 2, 3 for Cody Rhodes to retain his championship. If respectfully, okay, this was a clear at fault from the referee. He did not see it. So now it's up to Nick Aldis, the general manager of SmackDown, to handle this appropriately. And I got a feeling that with everything that Gunther has put Nick Aldis through in recent weeks, there's a part of me that says that Nick Aldis is obligated to give Gunther another title match, yet there is obligation that Nick Aldis is going to make him earn another title match. But according to what I saw at Clash in Italy, I believe, okay, that you're right. Gunther should have the match should have went on. The referee should have caught it. The Gunther should have had should get another chance. And I feel like if things work out, because there's really no one right now, maybe Sami Zayn, and I I would have to watch SmackDown to see if there's any, Sami Zayn's been kind of poking at Cody Rhodes the last few weeks. I don't know if he's trying to get himself into the championship picture and if that's honestly working. But there's indications that maybe indicate that Gunther gets a rematch at Clash in at Riyadh Night Champions. There is a possibility that we could see a triple threat match with Sami Zayn included as well. So there's different alternatives. But it's not like Gunther here is fan favorites of Nick Aldis or anyone else in the WWE. A matter of fact, if he's, you know, I just don't think he's a fan favorite. So, we'll see what takes place. I think that Nick Aldis should be like, you know what, you're right. So either you could have a you could get another championship match and with Night of Champions ahead. Let's see it. I see Sami Zayn somewhere in the middle of this mix. Like I said, possible triple threat match, but that's what I'm kind of, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards when it comes to Cody, the undisputed WWE Championship. As far as Ricky Saints and Carmelo Hayes, I mean, it's a rematch. They're trying to build towards the United States Championship, which has not been defended in a while. I'm assuming that since the Intercontinental Championship was defended at the Saturday Night Main Event last time, we may highlight Trick Williams in the U.S. title in the upcoming July 18th Saturday night main event, which I'm fine for. Um, Damian Priest, who's one half of the tag team titles, Braun Breaker, who's been reportedly limping after the results of his match with Seth Rollins last week, and Dominic Mysterio. We'll talk about the King of the Ring tournament here in just a moment. But Ricky Saints, Carmelo Hayes, just a typical match. Rhea Ripley will appear. She defeats Jade Cargill in the WrestleMania rematch. And now, I don't know. So, Fatal Influence, how do they reinsert themselves in the picture? I know Charlotte Flair came out to assist Rhea, but just not really necessarily assisting her, but stopping B-Fab and Machine from doing their damage and costing the title, making it a clean fight. How does that roll over? It seems like everyone's getting put into tag teams or six-woman tag teams, and it's kind of this love triangle out of all of them, so to speak. Does Jade Cargill continue to go after the championship? Do they enter cross paths with Fatal Influence, who made a rise since their debut on SmackDown, but that got quickly pushed aside? If I'm Fatal Influence, I'm saying, okay, you know, Jade, you lost your title at WrestleMania. You came back and had the WrestleMania rematch. Congratulations. Guess what? You lost. It's our turn to step in. And if that means we have to go through you, then that's the battle to come. So that is kind of what I think. And that's how I would report it. Um, Otherwise, when I look at things, when I look at the women's championship and the WWE championship, I'm going to be transparent with you. There's a little bit more opponents right now that Rhea Ripley can go out there and you know have great matches with right now. Fatal Influence. If you're not done with Jade Cargill, Charlotte Flair, so on and so forth. For Cody Rhodes, right now, there's just not much until CM Punk comes back. There's just not a whole lot that can be there's not really so many people that's involved. All right, let's dive into the King of the Ring tournament. You have a fatal four-way match between Damian Priest, Trick Williams, Dominic Mysterio, and Braun Breaker. The problem that I mentioned last week or earlier this week was the fact that you have champions competing in this tournament. And when the ultimate prize, I don't have a problem with them competing, but when the prize is the winner is given a title match at SummerSlam, that's where it's kind of becoming a little too predictive. Now, you see two options here. Okay. I don't see Trick Williams winning. I don't see Damian Priest winning, which leaves either Dominic or Braun. And I think what kind of gets me, I would like to see. I think Dominic and Obafemi would be a good match. Um, so is Oba and Braun. Just how soon would the WWE want to put in cross paths between Obafemi and Braun Breaker? Sorry, just texting my daughter. They're on summer vacation. They're outside playing right now while we're live here talking with you guys. But you know, um, I look at this and I see a Dominic Mysterio. Now, all right, so then I'm going to transition to what the bracket holds Because on the other side of the bracket, which we'll see next week, we have two fatal four-way matches, one with Seth Rollins, Javon Evans, Tonga, and Saints. And then on the other side, we'll see Uso, Knight, Keys, and Ballot. So there's just ways to play it out. And if you get Braun Breaker versus Obafemi, I wouldn't want a clean match. I would want a match where Seth Rollins gets involved, or even Obafemi gets involved, and or Brock Lesnar gets involved, and one of those guys end up costing the competitors a match. So it's just a way to present itself. So if Braun wins and he advances, faces Oba, I would honestly think that Seth Rollins gets involved, costs Braun the match, or Brock Lesnar costs Oba the match. Uh, and if you would have Seth Rollins interfere, that would probably mean that he doesn't advance, right? Or who could be the final two, right? Braun and Seth Rollins. So a lot of things that you can definitely speculate. Tonight on SmackDown, we'll also see the Queen of the Ring tournament, Bayley, JC Jane, and Kiana James, and with Raquel Rodriguez. I think between all four of them, this will be a great push for JC Jane. I think that you look in, she's been trying to climb in her way for a match with Rhea Ripley. This is one of her opportunities. Does that opportunity go for none? Do they, like I said, cross paths with uh, Jade Cargill, B-Fab, and Machine? Bayley could be a favorite to advance and win, as well as Raquel Rodriguez. We saw Io Sky, who won just this past Monday. Roxanne Perez, Julia, and Lash Legend was not the victorious. On the other side, which we'll probably see next week, Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, Bliss, and Green. We also see Sol Ruka, Lyra Valkyria, Charlotte Flair, and Jade Cargill. So, you see Io Sky. She's one of. I kind of. I'm gonna linger towards. Let's linger towards Raquel Rodriguez to pull away with the victory tonight on SmackDown. I'll also predict that Dominic Mysterio will win the King of the Ring first round and advance to the second round. So, you know what? No, I'm going to have Braun Breaker. Let's just do Braun Breaker. How about that? So, what are your thoughts of SmackDown tonight, 8 p.m. USA Network? We'll be back Monday to talk about that and let you guys know what is going on in the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. For more information, you can check out WWE.com. All right, I want to have a little bit of NFL conversations here on this program today, and how we're going to squeeze into that. Earlier this week, we saw a couple of different trades. One of the biggest ones was the Myles Garrett to the Rams. Well, we're going to shift gears over to AJ Brown and the receivers. And my biggest thing is now we look at quarterback and wide receivers, the new duos that enter in this season. An article that I'm using to help me with this is written on CBSSports.com by Garrett Poto, who kind of ranks some of the quarterbacks and receivers by top 10. So let's kind of go through the top 10 list. Now, some of them I agree with, some of them I think should be higher, should be lower. But coming in at number 10, according to this article, we have uh, Fernando Mendoza and Trey Tucker. Mendoza, drafted by the Raiders earlier in the draft as the first round pick, goes up against, will have Trey Tucker as a top receiver this year for the Raiders. Mendoza led the country in passing touchdowns with 41, total touchdowns of 48 last season as he won his way to a Heisman Trophy. Okay. Um, what I like about this duo, Mendoza's top target will obviously be all pro tight end Brock Bowers. But the connection is a 2023 third round pick wideout, Trey Tucker, who takes center stage. Dysfunctional Raiders offense is receiving yards 698 while ranking second in both catches and receiving touchdowns behind Bowers. He's also most often as a serious threat in 2025, with 22% of his routes being go routes per true media. So perhaps Mendoza can create a big play. Okay. So when I say Trey Tucker being a good duo along with Fernando Mendoza, I'm excited to see what this kid could do. But when you look at the Raiders, your number one target to probably be double teaming and stacking up against is Brock Bowers. The fact that your tight end is the most challenging. So that allows room for Tucker to be open. And if they can find a sweet spot and get well connected, hey, why not? Well, coming in at number 9 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, as he returns for one final year, he's going to get a receiver that can definitely help out. Well, outside the two-time Pro Bowl DJ Metcalf, you also have Michael Pittman Jr., who the Steelers obtained earlier this offseason. A player who makes a living over the middle, run around one routes, and someone else to throw it to. I really like this matchup. I think that depending where the attention of defending is on, I don't think you could defend both DK Metcalf and Pittman Jr. So I think that would be one of my favorites to look out for. Trying to find those small, short connections is going to be key this year. At number 8 is Jalen Hurts and Mekhi Lemon. And now with A.J. Brown out to the Pittsburgh New England Patriots, excuse me, we shift our drafting directions over USC's Mekhi Lemon, who was 20th overall. He won the Ballot Award last year in the Big Ten after 502 catches in yards after catch, which included him at 502. And so, like to see what that combination has. Open opportunities for success. Tyler Shaw and Jordan Tyson with the Saints. During week 17 and 16, Shaw became the first rookie quarterback since 1950 with 300 plus passing yards, at least one passing touchdown, and no turnovers in back-to-back games. And him and Chris Olave hit it off quite nicely. Olave setting career highs with catches of 100, receiving yards with 1,163, and receiving touchdowns of 9, second team All-Pro honors. Well, nice to see how Shaw can work well with Tyson this year. Coming in at number 6 is Bo Nix and Jalen Waddle. No player logged more receiving yards through the first 5 seasons in Miami history than Jalen Waddle, 5,039. AFC runner-up Denver Broncos knew they needed to add more pop to their passing game this year, and they did so looking into Waddle as a new income. He led the league in 18.1 yards per reception average in 2022 and produced 14.2 average in 2025. The 27-year-old Waddle now becomes the most dynamic pass catcher of quarterback Bo Nix's young career. Nix 64 total touchdowns, third most through the player's first 2 seasons of NFL history, trailing only Justin Herbert, who had 77, and Dan Marino. Brock Purdy and Mike Evans is going to be a combination. Mike Evans coming over from Tampa Bay, trying to putting aside the whole Brandon Ayuk situation, adding some fresh senses to the table. Tennessee Titan Cam Ward and Carnell Tate. Showcase rookie year, Ward became the 6th number 1 overall pick quarterback in the common draft era since 1967. To have his coach fired mid-season. Reid struggled mightily, looks for a bounce-back year, and hopefully with Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate That two combination can be help this team submerge in a very tough division uh, that's already not as tough as the league. At number three, we have Josh Allen and DJ Moore. Allen is off. Look, Allen is having, every year he seems to impress a lot of people, even on his bad years, trying to find that answer to get over that hump. Right? You already have number one option, the Stephon Diggs. You got Keon Coleman out there since Stephon Diggs' departure. Keon Coleman, the first round pick of the second round of the 2024 draft, hasn't panned out just yet. Hopefully that turnaround. But now we add DJ Moore to the mix. Bills paid up and with the second round pick to acquire the veteran wide receiver this year from the Chicago Bears. He's 29 years old, wasn't prioritizing the Bears coach Ben Johnson's offense with the youngsters. Look, he looks to kind of make his wave as the number one receiver there. Kyle Murray and Justin Jefferson. I think this one is actually shows a lot of interest as Kyle Murray is I think, get a true look at what a decent team looks at least with receivers. Now the question is Jefferson can still produce the same as he did years ago? Jefferson produced the most receiving yards in NFL history through the first 5 years of 5 seasons, 7,432 from 2020 to 2024. 2025, he's averaging 696.5 receiving yards per game, which is the most in history. Yes, you have backup JJ McCarthy, but the push is to really see can Kyler Murray be, what type of quarterback he is. Drake May and AJ Brown with the Patriots cap off at number one in this report. So I asked you, where do you rank this report at? I think Drake May and AJ Brown definitely up in there. I wouldn't name them at number one. After looking at this list, I rank the Bo Nix and Jalen Waddle. I like what Bo Nix did last season. Jalen Waddle is very impressive. Finally gets out of Miami, which is great for him. And I just think that there's a lot of dangerous situations that you could put with these two players there. That's my number one. My number two has to be Josh Allen and DJ Moore. All because of the veteranship Josh Allen is at the quarterback position. He can practically turn anyone around and he can lift somebody up. Kyle Murray and Justin Jefferson. And the reason why I put them at number three in my rankings is because I don't feel like Kyle Murray has really gotten a fair opportunity at what type of quarterback he could be with talented receivers and linemen surrounding him. Now, let's give him. Kyle Murray did not go to a championship team. I don't know if the Vikings even good enough to qualify in the wild card, but he's going to get at least his fair share look at this season. And with a talented receiver in Justin Jefferson, this may be a turnaround for him. So I picked those three because there's a lot of anticipation for me in those books. Drake May, AJ Brown comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 5 has to be Brock Purdy and Mike Evans. Number 6 is, for me, Aaron Rodgers and Michael Pittman. Number 7, Fernando Mendoza, Trey Tucker. So it's just a realignment. And that's just a matter difference of opinion, right? But I think that there's a couple really good duos, not necessarily quarterbacks to number 1 receivers, and they would have a very fair share at making some magic this year. And I think that's great news when it comes down to the league. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Who are you looking at in receivers and quarterback duos? And let's have that discussion in the upcoming weeks as we get closer to the schedule. All right, we got to talk about it. Cincinnati Reds begin a 3-game series tonight at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. Put out a article earlier today on our Facebook page you guys can read, talking a little bit about these two teams. These two teams that started their rivalry, two of the oldest teams in the National League Central back in the 19th century. Cardinals have the overall record with them, and this year alone, they met once, Great American Ballpark, a couple weeks back, and they split the series. It wasn't a fun series because, well, let's face it, it got rained out. We had a doubleheader on Saturday. We lost the first one 8-1, picked up this game 2 victory, 76. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, did Suarez come back that weekend, or was it a weekend afterwards? But then we had Sunday that was postponed because of rain. That's going to be made up in August. But now we're in Busch Stadium, and, they have very similar records right now. The Cardinals 32-28. They're third in the National League Central, as the Reds are 31-30 and are in 5th place. Now, I'm not going to shy to it. There's a few guys out there from the Cardinals right now. Weatherhold, Walker, Lars Nootbaar's expected to make his 2026 campaign this weekend. He's coming off of both heel surgeries back on March 25th. And so he's back in the lineup. He's had a couple home runs down, in AAA with Memphis. But this Cardinals team is the epiphany of finding hope to an organization that was forgotten, was left out, was not even, in conversations. They expected to be last place. No one expected them to have 30-plus wins this far into the season. No one expects them to be in 3rd place this season. Matter of fact, I'm surprised they even have 20 wins. That's just how much of a fool I am, to be honest. They've been back and forth among the division, and the topic this month has been what the teams are going to start the divisions are going to start separating themselves from contenders to teams that just aren't going to fight for it. And the Cincinnati Reds are towing, I'm going to say Terry, between that fine line of if they're contenders or if they're not. And so they're 31-38. It's a hit or miss offensively. It's their biggest struggle is the bullpen, and even for the front office knows it. The question I have is how are they going to fix it? Who do they have to be able to trade away that's valued to be able to get somebody worthy enough to make a step? How soon can these guys on the IL return to help this team? And would they even be a help if a return? So with that on the line, heading into this series, I argue that this next 6 games is probably the biggest games of the future of the remainder of the season for the Reds in their outcome. They got 3 against the Cardinals, division rivals. They got 3 in San Diego. And that's just the start. Because they come back home to Arizona. They come home and they host the Mets. They're back on the road the following weekend, I think, to the Yankees. Then they come home again for a 3-game week, and they're back on the road again. Whatever the Reds need to do, they had the day off yesterday. They need to figure it out. They don't have Cruz in here. They need Suarez to step up. They need, right now we're seeing the impressions of the other guys, JJ Bleday, Blake Dunn, they're all making headwaves right now, keeping this team afloat. But is that enough, along with substantial starting pitching, to keep our team going? How do you beat the Cardinals, who do play all 27 outs in a game? You get out to an early 5-6 run lead, you keep the pressure on, and you try not to turn it over to the bullpen no earlier than the 6th inning. And if you do that, because the weather's going to be nice out there in in St. Louis this weekend, you possibly have a chance to take away a series. I dread to emphasize that this 6-game road trip has to conclude in a 3-3 minimum record. Because I feel once we go under 500, guess what? We're not going back above. It's going to be very difficult. So, tonight, the Reds, first pitch, 8:15 on Reds TV, or listen to it on WLW. The Reds, 31-30, fifth in the NL Central, will be sending out right-handed pitcher Brady Singer. Brady, he is 2-5 with a 6.18 ERA. He last pitched on May 30th, which was last Saturday against the Braves. He went 5 innings, 4 hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. They will be going up against the 32-28 Cardinals, who are in third place of the NL Central. They'll send out right-handed pitcher Kyle Leahy, who is 5-3, 4.25 ERA. He last pitched on Saturday against the Cubs. He pitched 4 1/3 of an inning, giving up 6 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, 4 strikeouts. Saturday's game, available on Reds TV or listen to it on WLW. First pitch is at 2:15. The Reds will send out left-handed pitcher Nick Lodolo, while the Cardinals will have left-handed pitcher Matthew Liberatore. And then the final game of this 3-game series on Sunday. First pitch at 2:15, available on Reds.tv, or listen to it on WLW 700. The Reds will have Rhett Lauder on the mound, right-handed pitcher, going up against right-handed pitcher Michael McGreevy. I think the Reds need to get out to have these pitch counts high, get into the bullpen. I think we have a really Lauder, who's came back from injury, fatigueness, is back in there. I appreciate to see him. We need a solid plus outing out of our starting rotation. I like to at least take 2 of 3, and I think we can take 2 of 3, but a lot of things have to go our way, and our room for error is slim to none. Cincinnati Reds dropped a series to the Kansas City Royals, taking 1 out of 3 earlier this week. As they head on the road, they are 5-5 over the last 10 games, 1-game losing streak. They are 15-4 on the road. The Cardinals also dropped a series against the Rangers at home, taking 1 out of 3. They are 3-7 over the last 10 games, 1-game winning streak, and 16-16 at home. They're playing 500 baseball. So I think it's painting out black and white right now for you. Talked about Lars Nootbaar possibly returning this weekend after both heel surgeries back on May 25th. He played in back-to-back games earlier this week with the Memphis Redbirds, and he hit 2 home runs throughout that duration. Also, at Busch Stadium, the backyard baseball appears as they have mascots from the backyard baseball game, which I love that game, by the way, making appearances. I think Pedro has been out there earlier this week. Hopefully to see some this weekend. I know it'll probably be a very big entertainment for the Reds Ball Club broadcast team to talk about, especially since the Reds aren't playing great. All right, a National League lookout. Yesterday's scores, final results. Giants beat the Brewers 12-9. Cubs beat the Athletics 7-6 thanks to a PCA walk-off single in the 9th inning. And then the Pirates beat the Astros 5-1, having 2 of the 3 NL Central teams winning their ball game. This weekend, the Giants head over to Wrigley Field to take on the Cubs in a 3-game series. The Giants are 25-38, as the Cubs are 33-30. On Friday and Saturday, their first pitch starts at 2:20. Then you can join them on Sunday Night Baseball for a later showdown, as the first pitch is at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Pirates will remain on the road heading out to Atlanta, taking on the Braves for a 3-game series. Pirates are 34-29, while the Braves are 42-21, the best record in baseball, I believe. On Friday, the first pitch is at 7:15, Saturday at 4:10, and on Sunday at 1:35. Milwaukee heads out on the road to Colorado to take on the Rockies in a 3-game series. The Brewers are 37-23, first place in the NL Central, taking on the 24-39 Rockies. From Friday, first pitch is at 9:40. Saturday, first pitch at 9:10, and the 3-game series concludes with the first pitch on Sunday at 3:10. That is your National League Central lookout. Oh, I'm a little far ahead. Excuse me. Take a look at the NBA Finals as Game 2 of this best-of-7 series begins tonight. 8:30 tip-off between the New York Knicks and San Antonio Spurs in Texas. Knicks won Game 1 with the final score 105-95 over the Spurs back on, what was it, Wednesday? Game 3 will be on Monday, June 8th. Knicks just 3 more wins away from winning the NBA Finals. In the Stanley Cup Finals, the Carolina Hurricanes came back in overtime to beat the Vegas Golden Knights final score 4-3. The series is tied 1 apiece. Game 3 is on Saturday, June 6th. Puck drops at 8 p.m. Available. Both the NBA playoffs and the Stanley Cup Finals are available to watch on ABC. NCAA Baseball Super Regionals begin this weekend. It's a best-out-of-3 series, and here's what the matchups look like. Taking on at the Montgomery Town, we have West Virginia taking on Cal Poly. At the Lawrence is Kansas taking on Oklahoma. It will be Troy taking on Little Rock. Tuscaloosa will have Alabama taking on St. John. Chapel Hill will have North Carolina taking on USC. And Austin will have Texas taking on Oregon. In Auburn, you'll have Auburn taking on Ole Miss. In Athens, you'll have Georgia taking on Mississippi State. Majority of the games are available on ESPN Plus or on selective networks. For more information, you can check out D1BaseballTournament.com. There we go. You have that right out all your way. All right. So we talked about the All-Star ballot. It's open now between now and June 25th, which is 2 weeks away. You could vote 5 times a day, every single day, voting for your favorite player to represent their organization at this year's Midsummer Classic. I encourage you to get on there and vote. Let your voice be heard by voting. I know I'm voting, and I'm trying not to obtain a biased position. But with that being said, let's look at what 5 toughest calls on the All-Star ballot. Now, this one's according to MLB.com Will Leach, who put out this article. Let's see if we agree with that. The first one is the National League designated hitter. I feel like this one should be as easy as Shohei Ohtani. He's, as a two-way player performance, he's batting .301, and he has a National League best with a .420 OBP. He has another chance to win another 30-for-30 season. But then you also have Kyle Schwarber. After all, he leads the National League with home runs with 23. a 598 slugging percentage, and a 949 OPS. As much as I like Schwarber, I think Schwarber would be better to maybe take a position. I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe as a backup. But Shohei Ohtani to me is the best route until told otherwise. So I understand the argument. I don't agree with it. American League first base is another one on this list. They point out Athletics' Nick Kurtz, who took the league by storm in 2025. One of the longest on-base streaks in baseball history during this one, helping his club in the AL playoff chase. Rays Jonathan Aranda ranks among the AL RBI leaders. I got Ben Rice in this position. I'm going to stick with him. Then we have the National League outfield, which I can see happen. I like Jordan Walker. Top 6 in National League outfielders, according in Baseball Reference WAR, are all 25 or younger. The Dodgers' Andy Pages, who's 25, who actually leads the entire league in the category. The Cardinals' Jordan Walker is 24. Pete Crow Armstrong is 24 with the Cubs. The Diamondbacks' Corbin Carroll is 25, and Nationals' James Wood, and Braves' Michael Harris as well. You also have other guys are well established and accounted for, like the Mets' Juan Soto, Dodgers' Kyle Tucker, Braves' Ronald Acuna Jr. Through the record, it's the Reds' J.J. Bleday who's the highest OPS at the position. There's so many great outfielders, you just can't go wrong in this scenario. At number 4, American League outfield is also opposing a tough decision to make. Yankees' Aaron Judge obviously looking pretty locked in, but I think he's dealing with an injury right now, right? Rib fracture, stress fracture. Cody Bellinger, who's above him in Baseball Reference WAR. Just a few names. Mike Trout, who got off to a hot start. Riley Green, Byron Buxton, Randy Arozarena, Julio Rodriguez. There's a lot of names to oppose. And then coming in at number 5 is the National League shortstop. Now, I would throw in Elly De La Cruz, but he's been injured. There's a lot of players that have been dealing with varieties of injuries and struggles. Alexander Bogaerts, Francisco Lindor, Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, Dansby Swanson. The list goes on and on. But there's still drama if you look here deeper. Cruz is mentioned. He's not quite elevated himself to the MVP status. We're still waiting just yet. Terrific years, extremely worth the choice. Should be back before the All-Star game. National CJ Abrams has stepped out. Could be a possible opportunity if Cruz doesn't get his fair chance as. Don't forget Nico Horner with the Cubs or Otto Lopez. So as you guys are selecting your all-star ballot on a day-to-day basis, do you find these same struggles among the players do you see? I do have 10. Right. Shortstop position, I think, is very difficult. I don't see anyone with lights out numbers. As a matter of fact, the top guy right now is CJ Abrams, in my opinion. That's not to give any discredit to Elly De La Cruz, but we haven't seen the best of Elly De La Cruz. I think one of the questions we'll be asking ourselves here later this year is, has Elly De La Cruz tapped out on the highest level of performance we're going to ever get from him? Or is there still room for improvement in his tank? The American League outfielders and National League outfielders are make compelling cases here to decide, and it is very difficult to decide. I like to go with who's hot right now. This is why it's a little bit challenging, because sometimes people just do fan favorites, and I get that. Bleday, though, has been, although he doesn't have a Kyle Tucker reputation as name, he's been very hot in what he's been doing. No, he doesn't lead the league with home runs or RBIs, but he's someone who's making a big impact in with the Reds organization. You also can't ignore top baseball teams, though. The Dodgers, the Braves. So when you talk about guys like Kyle Tucker, Ronald Acuna, does it? They just kind of get associated because they're the top teams in baseball. Well, then you have the Mets in Juan Soto, for example, who really hasn't been a precedent in the Major League Baseball playoff race, but his name associates with top tier performances. So, I mean, I deal with it every day. Definitely agree with this list. But who do you guys struggle to vote with? Is it more of a biased opinion, or do you guys keep a friendly, open mind about who's really performing well, who deserves to represent their organization in the Midsummer Classic? Let me know down in the comments below. Last but not least, early throughout this year, there's been a lot of young ball players getting contract extensions. And that lingers back to the Cincinnati Reds. Now, there was a report that Ellie De La Cruz was offered a contract extension a couple years ago, turned it down, wanted to test and see his performance yet. And now the conversation comes with the infielder Sal Stewart, who's gotten off to a fantastic start in 61 games, slashing 258, 24 extra base hits, 10 stolen bases. On Thursday, President of Baseball Operations Nick Kroll was asked about the possible contract extension. And he says it could be consideration. He's been really good, but we have not had discussions with him yet. Sal Stewart was also asked about the extension, and he says he's absolutely open to it. He says, I was open to it. The Reds don't feel right now is the right time, which is 100% fine. Still to prove myself and prove to the league what I can do, I leave it all up to my agent, and I have him for a reason. I trust him and trust the decision making as well. While many fans are thrilled about Nick Kroll's comments, there are certainly no reason to rush an extension for Stewart. The youngsters is under team control through the 30-31 season. Early extensions are high risk, high reward. For instance, Red offered Matt McClain an extension ahead of the 2025 season, and he declined it. With how bad Matt McClain has been over the last two seasons, that extension had been accepted, it wouldn't have looked so good. So the big question here is, I think that it's great to keep in the back of our mind for Sal Stewart. I think it's also great though to understand that we do have him for the next 5 years, and I wouldn't jump on extending his contract because it is a high risk, high reward. It's also, if he fails miserable. We got to eat it up. And there's been too many times where we jump to the conclusions to sign players just for that to fail on us. And that's what we need to try to stay away from. Um, I think it gives Sal Stewart the motivation to work towards something, but let's be transparent. As much as I would like to lock him in to be a lifetime Reds ball club player, those are rare to see. And if he was maybe and the first year at the major league level doesn't necessarily mean or say anything specifically to what he's capable of doing. The thing is I almost appreciate not signing Ellie De La Cruz, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, and that's a conversation we're going to be having here, in the upcoming future. Is has Ellie De La Cruz hit the cap? I mean, is he is a top shortstop, hands no questions asked. But has he reached his cap of performance level? Is this the most that we're going to ever see out of him, or this expectation of this MVP caliber lights out player is still yet to come? I like to still think that he has a few left in him. It's not, when I say a few left in him, that we haven't seen it yet. But jumping on that right away is also could hurt us. So I appreciate that the conversations are there, but I also appreciate that no one's in a rush to sign a rookie. I've seen so many happen this year, and some of them I've already just doesn't feel right to me. Not saying that they don't work, not saying that the player doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying, I don't know how these players are actually going to be. We haven't seen enough of them at the major league level. But I digress. We're going to get into the weekend. That is all the time I have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Have those notifications on. We'll be back Monday from noon to 1, so be sure to tune back in right here on our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. You could also follow us on our Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter page, and download us. Take us out there on the road with you wherever you get your podcasting needs at. Listen to us. Stay up to date so you don't miss a single moment of what we talk about. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. I hope you guys stay cool, stay dry, go swimming, go do whatever you guys want this weekend. It's going to be a great weekend. And we will be back Monday for more Sports Talk. You guys are listening to the TNC Sports Talk right here. Thank you. My name is Justin. You guys have a wonderful, enjoy rest of your week. Take care.